our YouTube poll today. Was the Jordan Poole shot good or bad? And that's where I want to start with our guest, Jason Timpf, host of Hoops Tonight at The Volume, one of my favorite people to listen to about basketball, to follow on the internet talking about basketball. He's got YouTube breakdowns. Jason, you do a really great job. And I want to ask you, the Jordan Poole shot at the end of last night's game, good or bad shot?
The reality of the situation, Steph was double teamed. They were down by 3, and Jordan Poole had already made a bunch of threes. So the way I look at it, like, maybe if he puts the ball on the floor and drives that closeout, maybe you get a higher quality shot. But at the end of the day, he got a clean look from a distance that is not ideal, but a distance that I'm sure he practices plenty. And I think, like, of all of the things to focus on from that game, and I understand the idea of that being the focal point in a game where you're down 3 in a late possession. But, like, as far as I'm concerned, against that Laker defense that was so locked in, you're certainly not guaranteed to get a better shot than that.
Yeah. Anthony Davis was absolutely incredible last night. 30 points, 23 boards in 44 minutes. Do the Lakers need him to do that every single night in order for them to win this series?
I believe so. I mean, and he's capable of it. I mean, he was up and down offensively as he was in that Memphis Grizzlies series. Defensively, he was more or less that guy every single night. I tend to think he's the best defensive player in the league when he's actually healthy and locked in. There's a combination of physical tools and defensive IQ. He's got such great instincts, and I thought he demonstrated that last night, like a good understanding of when he needed to vacate the paint to show on an on-ball or off-ball screen versus when he was okay to hang back. He did a good job reading his guards and understanding whether or not they were in a predicament where they needed his help or not. Again, like, this particular defense does not have the same type of defensive personnel down the roster as Boston did last year. But the fundamental cogs in the Steph Curry attack are significantly better, in my opinion. Like, Robert Williams is a guy that has some similar physical tools to Anthony Davis, but doesn't have nearly the same level of defensive IQ, right? And then Al Horford has the same level of defensive IQ, but he doesn't have the same level of physical tools. And then you're chasing Steph over the top of screens with smaller guards like Derek White and Marcus Smart. This is Jared Vanderbilt, and what makes him unique is he's one of the very few wings in the league that is outstanding at avoiding screens, like sidling over and under screens, but also has the length of a wing to pressure from behind. So many lock and trail players, guys that are good at avoiding screens, are stockier and shorter because it's just harder to set a screen on a lower center of gravity than it is on a higher center of gravity. So Jared Vanderbilt the Jared Vanderbilt-Anthony Davis combo is a very unique defensive combo, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that's been Steph's least efficient night of the postseason so far.
Talking to Jason Timpf, host of Hoops Tonight at The Volume Sports. Is there an adjustment Golden State can make in your mind?
Yeah, I know it's the same one that Warriors fans have been talking about since
Steph pick and rolls.
It's been almost a decade now. Yeah, Steph pick and roll. But, I mean, here's the thing. It sounds cliche to say, but there's a very specific reason for it. So in a lock and trail situation, so if I have Jared Vanderbilt on Steph Curry and I'm poised right behind him, ready to follow him wherever he runs, in that specific situation, my job is relatively easy. And as long as I'm positioned behind him, even if he cuts back, he's cutting right back into me. So it's kind of like a one-directional physical ask, right? And so Jared Vanderbilt in the off-ball situation did an amazing job chasing Steph Curry. But in an on-ball situation, it's so much different because now I'm squared up with Steph. He's facing me, and now I have to account for two directions, left and right. Not only that, there's a guy who's trying to screen me. And the idea of sidling over screens, it's not like it's just a magical power. It's like a technique thing. Jared Vanderbilt has outstanding footwork with getting that top foot over the top foot of the screener so that he can sidle up over the top, right? But you have to set yourself up for that. So there's another guy in the Lakers who's outstanding at this on the ball. It's Austin Reeves, and I'm sure you saw a bunch of that last night against Dante DiVincenzo. But when you have a live dribble, you can use 3 or 4 counters to get that defender to end up on the wrong side of the screen. Then Looney quick flips the angle and sets a good pick, and now you're past the guy. So to put it simply, I think Steph can ditch Jared Vanderbilt on screens way easier on the ball than he can off the ball. It's a lot to ask physically, but as soon as he starts ditching Jared Vanderbilt a little bit more, that's what pulls Anthony Davis up to the level of the screen where he has to contain that pull-up shot, which then opens up everything on the back end as far as Steph driving or hitting the roll man. Like, that's where they can get openings around the rim that are higher quality.
Jason, if I could take it back to the first round real quick for a second and focus on the Kings, do you have concerns about Domantas Sabonis' play in that series and his future as the Kings' second option moving forward in postseason play?
Yes, and I mean, to me, it's just the harsh reality of playoff basketball. Like, what happened to Sabonis in that round reminded me a lot of what happened to Kevin Love in the kind of the late 2010s with the Cavs, where like he would be this effective regular season cog who's such a great screener and pick and pop threat who could post up smaller defenders and all these different things, but then he'd run into like Thaddeus Young on the Pacers and just have no idea how to post him up anymore, you know, or Draymond Green would just completely demolish him. Like, as soon as the physicality ramps up, like, it's what I call it is like the undersized big whose physicality is the advantage in the regular season, but that gets evened out when you get to the postseason. And so from that standpoint, like he was struggling to beat switches. He couldn't finish in drop-off situations and pick and roll, and then all of the limitations on the defensive end of the floor. So here's the thing. There's a lot to be really excited about as a Kings fan from that series. Like, to put it simply, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk are great playoff players. Like, they just are, because they can beat everybody off the dribble, and they have dynamic and reliable pull-up jump shooting. So like, there's that, to me, is such a great foundation. And then De'Aaron Fox can really hold up defensively. And so you can theoretically put together a lineup where Malik Monk is your weakest link, and even he is a good athlete, right? But you have to bolster that front court with real athleticism and defensive versatility. That, to me, is the option. Like, the exciting part is you took the Warriors to 7 while getting nothing out of your front court offensively. And so you currently have personnel that theoretically is your offensive-minded front court, right? Like, for all of the limitations of Harrison Barnes and Sabonis defensively, you're like, hey, we're in good shape on the offensive end. No, you weren't. Those guys didn't play well. So the exciting part is if you can flip that for better defensive talent and you get similar limitation offensively, you could still have all the dribble penetration from Fox and Monk, hold up better defensively, and have a really good chance to make a long playoff run. So even though it's a loss to the Warriors, they competed better than I expected them to, and you have two proven offensive initiators in the playoffs that in Monk and Fox that I think is really exciting.
He's a host of Hoops Tonight at the Volume. Jason Timpf. Hey, Jason, is there a good landing spot for Dillon Brooks?
I understand the victory lap thing, and the Laker fan base is ravenous, so they're having many moments at his expense. Here's the thing: I was saying all season, and Kyle, I know you spent a lot of time covering the Warriors this year. Like I thought he did a great job on Steph in all of their matchups. I think he did a great. I thought he did a great job against all of the best players in the league. I legitimately think he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. So, again, the shot selection is annoying. The talking trash, that obviously is annoying. But, like, there's also no veteran presence in that locker room. So I tend to think, now, there's a report out there that his agent wants $25 million a year. $25 million a year, that's insane. He's not getting that. But I think he's certainly worth a mid-level exception somewhere. I think that teams that lack size in perimeter defense, teams like Miami, teams like Dallas, those are teams that I'd keep an eye on because, again, you put them alongside veterans. Like, Kyrie and Luka will look at him and be like, stop shooting the ball, dude. Like, stop it. You need to take higher quality shots. So, like, in a veteran locker room that lacks perimeter size and athleticism, that's where I see him fitting. Dallas should be banging on his door all summer long to try to get him to sign a mid-level exception.
That's Jason Timpf, host of the Hoops Tonight podcast at The Volume. You can check him out on YouTube as well. Jason, you're one of the best. We really appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Dillon Brooks.
Him saying the Heat right there, that fits so perfectly. Dillon Brooks in Heat culture, if they could mold him into a little bit